You mentioned there's a cool story in how you ended up on the song. So you are label mates, 12 Stones and Evanescence. So I'm like, okay, there's the wind up connection. And then I realized that your producer also produced Fallen, I believe. So there's another connection. So what's the actual story of how you end up there?
Well, hindsight makes it a lot easier for me to put it all together. But at the time, we had our first album out and we were in the process of writing the second album. And we happened to be up in New York at the Wind Up offices. We were having a meeting about upcoming songs, what we were doing. And Evanescence had been signed, but they hadn't worked on any music necessarily at this point. And the at the time, the president of the label, we were in his office, and he was like, you guys need to hear this band Evanescence we signed, and this is going to be their first single." And they were talking about because this is 2002, I believe, and they were talking about all the big rap rock guys that were there at the time. We got Mike Shinoda, you got Jacoby, I believe Josie was mentioned from Saliva. Some of these guys that,
Limp Bizkit.
right, those are the guys that were doing their thing at the time. And they showed us a demo version of Bring Me to Life, and it had whatever local producer they were using kind of did a mock up of the part that ended up that I did. And the label was talking about all these guys they wanted to reach out to do this song. And I jokingly was like, well, man, if you can't find anybody famous to do it, I'll do it. Just kind of taking a jab at myself and trying to be funny. And they're like, oh, okay, we'll keep that in mind. I'm like, yeah, yeah, your people are called my people. Sure, sure. And then a few weeks later, we were back home and we were loading up our bus to head to Texas to go on tour with Seven Dust. And I got a phone call from my manager and he said, don't get on the bus. I'm like, what? He's like, I just got a call from the label and they want you to do the Evanescence song. I'm like, really? Okay, yeah. He's like, so they got you a flight. You got to go to the airport right now. Go to the airport. You're flying to LA. You're going to track the song tonight. And then tomorrow we'll fly you to Texas to meet up with the guys to get back to the tour. So I went straight to the airport. I listened to the song the entire flight to LA and just muscle memory, just had to make sure I had my parts ready to go. I got to the studio at like 11 p.m. I'd worked with Dave already previously, so I saw him and the comfortability set in. The band was there, said hello to them, went into the studio. I think I tracked for about an hour and a half. I went back to the hotel, slept for 2 hours, caught a red eye back to Texas. And that was kind of the history of the creation of the song. And then I think it was only maybe a month or so later that they called me and said, all right, you got to go shoot the music video. We shot it in Romania. And then they said, also, you got to be ready. You're going to go back out to LA and you're going to perform on the Access Hollywood show and also Jay Leno. And I'm like, wait, what happened? Like,
Come
I,
again?
I stopped at Romania, and then you said Jay Leno, like we're going to be on the Jay Leno show, and he's like, oh yeah. So, like I said, I had already had some level of success with 12 Stones, but nothing like this, nothing like jet setting all over the world, for music videos and live performances and stuff. So, it's definitely a whirlwind, it wasn't until years later, honestly, that I found out that there was any kind of disagreement between the band and label about this part. I was just the young, dumb redneck kid that was like, yeah, I'll do it. Okay. I didn't realize that there was a little bit of hostile energy between the label who was telling them, you got to have this part in the song. It's what's popular right now. We think it's gotta make the song more currently relevant. And Amy sticking to her artistic integrity, which I fully support. And I feel like ignorance is bliss for me in that moment because had I known that she didn't like this part of the song or didn't feel that it was what she wanted to represent the band, I would have never done it. I would have been like, oh, okay, well, yeah, definitely. I'm not, it's your stuff. It's
Stick with
your,
the artist. Yeah.
yeah, like I'm gonna, I got your back 100%. But it wasn't until well after the fact that I found out that there was all this issue. And then the internet being what it is, all the fans kind of turned on me, like I forced my way into their artistic and their it just kind of stepped all over it, and it turned into like this, women can't do anything in the music industry without a male, and I'm like, whoa, like no, 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 I I I thought I was invited, you know. I didn't know that the label invited me and that it was not necessarily what the band wanted because we didn't know each other. We were just label mates and stuff. And so I felt horrible for years after that. And I got a lot of hate for a long time. And I'm like, for a while there, it made me cringe when I heard the song, and it couldn't go anywhere without hearing it. You know, you'd be in the bank and I'm just hearing myself, you know, standing in Blockbuster Video or something, and you're just like, oh man, here it is again. But as the years have gone on, I've spent a lot of time, and I've talked to Amy, and we've talked about the reality of the situation. She never knew that I was getting the level of like pushback as I was, and she was like, "Man, I didn't realize that this is what how this was affecting you personally." I was like, dude, I love the fact that we did this song together, and I'm honored still to this day. Every time I hear it, I light up a little bit. But there was a long period of time there, not long after the song was released, where I was like, every time it gets brought up, I get made to be like a villain, and it wasn't the band's doing. It was a lot of the fans were like, she's an angel, and how dare you go in there and like interfere with her artistic integrity. I'm like, I didn't want to. I didn't even write this part. Like, I just performed it. I showed up. I sang what I was instructed to sing, and that was the end of it for me. And it took a long time for me to be able to vocalize that without just kind of shutting down. But yeah, we've grown a lot. I've grown a lot, and our relationship is great now these days. I reached out to her last week and just let her know about the scheduling for this festival coming up, and I was like, I just want you to know we're both going to be there on Sunday. And she said, I like where your head's at. So yeah, yeah, we're all in a good place now. So